Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Mental Hellness. This is going to be a chat show where we celebrate the sometimes awkward and a lot of times funny world of mental health, with all due respect. But I think it's okay for us to dig a little and figure out how we all manage and how we all cope, and maybe learn something along the way. So I have my very first guest, which I'm super excited about. This is Adrianna, who is an amazing storyteller. She is a social media maven, guru, ninja. She is also a passionate mental health advocate, fierce in stamping out stigma. And on a personal note, she is also my co-producer of our podcast, which we've been doing for probably the last 3 years or so, Stories Like Crazy. So without further ado, I am going to admit Adrianna. Da-da-da-da. Yay! Hi!
Hello.
Are you on mute?
No.
Are you muted? Hello?
Hi.
Hi, there we go. Now I can hear you. Oh, I love the technical glitches, but we are smooth. And we have dogs barking in the background, which you can relate to, I know. How are you, Adrianna? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. I'm okay.
You're okay? Is it
Yeah.
COVID? Hold on a second. Pipe down. I'm trying to do a show over here. Quiet. The joys. So COVID madness. Tell me about it.
Oh my goodness. It's real. I have anxiety with a capital A. I have an anxiety disorder, and living in the pandemic panic, as it were, is a thing that I have to navigate daily. How about you?
You know what? I've given this a lot of thought, and while I am anxious about COVID, I've kind of rolled it into my regular everyday panic. So I think I've gotten really good at it. So if you were to ask me specifically, are you anxious about COVID? I'm not sure, because I'm anxious about freaking everything.
I mean, there is that too.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's be honest. I freak out on a daily basis. And that's part of the reason I wanted to do this little chat show, because for selfish reasons, I wanted to talk to other people that can relate to that. So I thought of you, of course.
Hard yes. But I definitely have seen an uptick in panic since January. I have more frequent panic attacks, more full-blown panic attacks, like the ones where I can't breathe. And it looks like it's an episode. They're more frequent. They're more intense. And I've been talking about how everything's kind of like at a boiling point. So I'm at a boil. It doesn't matter what you put in. If it's good or bad, it's going to get boiled. Right?
Yeah.
Triggers are more frequent and more stupid.
I can relate to that.
Thank God I don't have cable, because I'm sure I would just like cry at the drop of a hat for any kind of commercial that has like puppies in it or something. Do you know what I mean? Like everything is a trigger.
And everything's raw, right? Like everything's at the surface. So I find, and I don't know about you, but my anxiety is super physical. Like I have what I call the knotted fist in my stomach. And that fist has probably been there, like you said, since January. And it flexes a little bit now and then, but it's become my new norm. And I think we're not alone. I'll bet you we'll talk to plenty of people who have taken this extraordinary circumstance, this madness, if you will, and woven it into their everyday. It's become like this new crazy normal.
It's so true that everything's just amped up, and I've been trying to communicate with a lot of people because thankfully, with years of going to therapy, becoming a mental health advocate, being a suicide prevention trainer, I tend to have people come to me for, I don't want to say advice, but like again, like this, like camaraderie and
Yeah.
community,
Yeah.
and just wanting to be like, I'm not crazy, right? And it's like, we're all a little bit crazy. And to embrace that in a way that you can walk with it, like how you're saying that you're like folding it into your everyday anxiety.
Yes. Yes. Kind of like baking, like folding the eggs in if I were to bake, which I don't.
No, you didn't do that part of the pandemic?
No, you know what? And I thought that was nutty. First the toilet paper and then the flour.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't get our hands on either.
It's the plot for Les Mis.
Is it totally
First bread, then revolution?
That's right. Woohoo. No, I think I don't even know really what I did. Except thanks to you, I got into Drag Race. I got into RuPaul's Drag Race. And
yes,
I remember months ago you telling me, oh, you know what? I just need to zone out to some Drag Race. And I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. And I didn't give it much more thought. And then somewhere in March or April, I thought your little voice was in my head saying, why not zone out and watch Drag Race? And I have not only watched it, I've watched every episode, every season, every Untucked.
Yes.
I am now watching, which I love. Makes your life feel great, doesn't it? And check this out.
Yes, of course. Oh, is she your queen? She's your
Bianca is my queen.
Yes.
And I tell you, maybe some people exercise, some people bake, some people journal. I watch Drag Race and I watch them just tear into each other. Yeah. So thank you for that. It's a coping mechanism for me.
I love that I am your queen connection. Yes, Mama Ru all the way. I too still watch Drag Race. Part of my anxiety has been insomnia, and it's really kicked up since January, where I'm just basically not sleeping on the regular. Before, it would be anxious episodes where I might not be able to fall asleep or not be able to stay asleep. But again, since January, it's just been now, it's a given. Like my bedroom is now the couch. So I don't mess with my partner's sleep pattern. Right. And I have binge watched She-Ra. Highly, highly recommend it.
Awesome.
It's much more complex than the 1980s Just Sell figurines model. It's very, very good. And now I'm on to Avatar: The Last Airbender, because at 3 a.m. I don't want to have something that needs me to really truly invest and or complicate my sleep pattern anymore. Like alongside COVID, I am trying to learn to be a better ally for Black Lives Matter, and trying to watch Dear White People at 3 a.m. just gives me more anxiety. So I need to put on the oxygen mask and have a beat so that I can show up for the next day, and for people who are in need, and for myself. So things like cooking shows, Drag Race, and She-Ra have been playing at 3 a.m. So I definitely recommend that. Going back to your comforts, find your comforts.
And there's something really peaceful about falling asleep to really, queen. It's just, you know what's coming, and it's fun, and it's empty. It is what it's supposed to be, as entertainment. And you and I have had conversations before where it's kind of hard to stay focused, and it's been hard to get certain things done. I don't know about you, but it's really, and the irony is I thrive on routine, because routine helps me to manage the anxiety, but the anxiety has been such that it's messed with my routine, and I almost feel like a coiled spring. I can't quite move to the next task. So again, it's about finding things that are going to help to loosen that spring, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. And reading is something that I used to turn to, but I'm finding I can't focus, and even audiobooks are hit or miss. Keeping my focus is really hard. And I know that there are articles out there about the pandemic brain. We are going through grief, we're going through bereavement, and our body is in constant defense, and like cortisol and serotonin and all of these things are completely out of whack. So the inability to focus is not isolated. Like, we're all going to be feeling that in some way, shape, or form. And it really sucks that, like, that's taking away one of my comforts. Like, I can't just bury myself in Harry Potter because I just keep reading the first sentence over and over again.
Yeah, no, I feel you for sure. Where do you stand on, you see meme after meme of this and posts on social media about people, learning a new language, or as you said earlier, baking, or they've gotten fit, or they've started writing their book, and
good for them.
Right. Okay. It's not just me then.
Like, did you like see the smoke and the whiskey? Good for them.
Oh, Dorothy Parker.
Yeah. I've gained 10 pounds. I can't finish the to-do list that I started at the beginning of this, where everybody was like, you're going to have so much time if you don't come out of this pandemic learning a new language or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? If you can get out of this pandemic, period, good on you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
This is some heavy shite. I'm trying to say that in a different language for you. There you go. I learned a new language. Because this is a lot, and it's every day, and there's no escape from it. And every day we're being fed new information because we're living science in real time, which we don't usually do. We usually hear the results or get the medication at the end of it. We don't get to feel it in real time. And that's frustrating. And it's pulling me and my friends and family apart. I don't know about you, but because of my anxiety, I'm always the one that's like, I won't be coming to the family barbecue because of shared utensils, close proximity. You're not in my bubble. And it's been causing a lot of butting of heads. And that's also to say that all of the information that we're getting is changing, right? So like, what is a bubble person? What is a circle person? What is a social distance person? Like, what is quarantine? What is lockdown?
Where do you wear your mask? Where don't you wear your mask? And how often do you wash your mask? And you know what? And you're so right, because not only are we being bombarded with information that's changing in real time, everybody's interpreting it differently.
Yes.
And it sounds like when you're talking about your family, you get that sort of, I've got some friends that are like, oh, it's just us. Come on. Come on over. It's okay. Just,
like, you're immune to it.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm getting the same information that you are. And then I become the pill, or I become, oh, she's no fun. We should just be able to,
Adrianna just has anxiety. You don't need to listen to her. She's crazy.
That's right. And right, insert Lori's name there, and it's the same thing. And we're not alone. We can't be. I mean, it's about finding the balance, though, because I think when you deal with an anxiety disorder, which, let's be real, I think we're talking about here, we're not just talking about regular stress. When you're dealing with an anxiety disorder, what we really want is safety. Mm-hmm. What we really want is to feel secure and not come from a position of fear.
And control. And in this case, there's so little control that I understand that the only control that I have is over me and my actions. And it's very apparent in this situation where I didn't go to the Father's Day meetup with my family because
how did that go down?
It went down in tears. I had a complete break. That was one of my panic attacks. And it was just, my family was very generous. They were very gracious. They were like, you need to do what you need to do. They didn't shame me. My dad private messaged me, and he was like, I understand that this is what you need to do. I will not take it as a slight. And it's hard. It's hard to say no to things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And it can be really discouraging to have other friends and family then still reach out because, I've said no. So I'm not going to, I don't know. Like, it's hard.
It's really hard, and it's really confusing. And here's something that I've started doing, and I'm trying to catch myself because it's kind of obnoxious, is telling other people, you shouldn't do that.
I know, I'm so bad at that.
And it's embarrassing, right? Because I can feel it coming out of my mouth, and I feel like I'm about 100 years old. Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing. I tell people what they should and shouldn't be doing, and it doesn't even affect me. It's not even my situation, but so I feel it coming out of my mouth like, tut, tut. And I'm thinking, am I going to have any friends when this is over? Anyway.
I mean, I'll be there because
Well,
I'll
thanks.
be like,
Right?
Shante, you stay.
I've got my notepad. No, she went out. I know. It's really nuts. And it's just, I think we have to find a way to give ourselves a little bit of a break, because this doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. And that's, I think, through all the information that a vast amount of people are confusing boredom with the pandemic being over. It's like we somehow in our arrogance are able to say, this is enough. I'm bored.
Yep.
Let's get back to it. And the pandemic is still happening.
But also, who can blame them when the government
Right.
is like, let's reopen, but with all of these really confusing rules.
Yes.
So, yeah, I can get it.
And roll the dice, right? I mean, I was shopping the other day and I had my mask on, and I would say, you know, it felt like only maybe 10 or 20% of people had their masks on. And then you kind of think, okay, so there's a part of your brain that says, well, screw it then. I'm just going to blend. But my anxiety won't let me do that. It won't let me say, forget it. I'm just going to, go with the flow, go with the majority. It's the anxiety is still in control of that.
All the time, anxiety.
So much
always at the wheel. And there is a balance. Like I'm meeting with my friends for social distance gatherings, and it's on my private property. Like I'm very privileged. I have a place where my apartment has green grasses around, and there's some fencing. So it's like a private property. So I'm not meeting them in a public park where it would, my anxiety. It's an enclosed place. We each have our own picnic blanket, and we sit 6 feet apart outside. And we picnic. And by that, I mean, we bring Ziploc bags and we eat our own food. There's no sharing. There's no contact. We don't hug. We don't even high five, and that is the sanity that we've all agreed on, because, if you want to hang out with me, you're going to have to hang out with my anxiety too. It's my leashed black dog. We've talked about this before, right? Yes. I love that analogy of the black dog.
Yes.
And my dog has to come with me wherever I go.
Yep.
And he's going to get his back up about certain things and bark and make a fuss, even though I don't want him to. And even though I'm trying to quiet my anxiety, trying to quiet my anxious dog all the time, he's still going to be there. So my friends are really lovely that they listen and they give space for my anxious black dog. And we sit 6 feet apart, and we don't do backyard barbecues, like that. Those are for bubble people. Those are for people that you take that extra step for. And we have really in-depth discussions. And like I was saying earlier, some of my friends are like, yeah, peace out, Adri, that's too much. Right. And what's really lovely is some of them actually are like, yeah, no, that makes me feel comfortable too. And that's exactly the control that I have to exert, because I'm without routine. I'm without understanding the rules. Like, these are all the things that my anxiety craves, is that kind of structure. So I do the best I can. And when I feel like I can't, I'm very lucky.
You get drunk.
Well, girl.
Right.
Girl.
So I just completely undermined all of your really valid, points that you're making. And when all else fails, there's whiskey.
You know me well. We have been so my partner has been going through trying new gin. That's his pandemic.
All right.
That's his pandemic quiz is like, what is gin? Why don't I like it? And then I'm like, I like whiskey. I'd like to like more. So like sampling different things like that. It's really fun. And the pandemic kitchen, like us making, I've been making okonomiyaki, which is like this really weird Japanese pancake. So it's like, those are the things that I've been focusing on to try and make it that, the pandemic boredom. I actually had a professor back in university, Dennis Hayes, would say, boredom is a luxury.
Nice.
Don't be bored. That's selfish. Don't be bored.
Wow.
Like, what can you be doing? But that also then leads itself into the hairy thing that we just talked about of like, be productive. And it's like, there's a difference between boredom and productivity. And in there somewhere you have to insert self-care. So
Yep.
if the boredom is racking you up, what can you be doing that doesn't stress you out in a way that perhaps like read Crime and Punishment or learn a new language, but like I can take my dog for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
I can call my friends. I can go online to, I think it's called boardgamesarena.net. I can get that thing for you, but it's like, it's a free board gaming thing where people all around the world are playing board games because we're all bored.
Right.
For free. Like these kinds of things of like, what can you be doing and not put the pressure on you to, learn Gaelic in 5 days.
Damn.
Which I would really like to do because
that would be so cool. I mean, we should challenge each other on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just, I mean, it's about still trying to create a sense of fun. I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. I know nothing about technology. You know this about me. Look at me, even though I forgot to put my headphones in the beginning and I thought you were muted, but you know what? This is what's happening. And I wanted to create a space where we could just chit chat about this, and whoever's watching will hopefully think, oh my God, I see myself in there somewhere, right? Yeah. I see myself, and it's okay because here's two women that are talking nonsense and are trying to figure it out. So I'm so glad you joined me today. And I'm so glad you're the first that joined me.
Thank you. Oh, it's such an honor.
You've said a lot of really great things, but I wonder, as we wrap up, what would be an Adri pearl of wisdom that you could impart on our viewers?
The most recent epiphany I had in therapy was to build more blanket forts.
Awesome.
And it sounds really ridiculous, which it is. My therapist really gets me. And it was all of the boil up, all of me saying, and like, this is what you do in therapy is you vent and you go and you at them. And she was just like, okay, we're going to take a beat here. Can you put some pillows around you? I'm like, absolutely. Because in the times of COVID, you Zoom your therapist and you're in your bedroom.
Right.
And she's like, do you have a stuffy? And I'm like, boy, do I. So I have the Merida bear. I have the bear, that Merida's brothers turn into because I'm a redhead and like archery. So I have like this big bear. And she's like, okay, do you have any more pillows? And I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, well, we're building a blanket fort. I was like,
that is awesome.
Right. And like the idea of like pressing pause and then exactly that I got excited. And instead of me being like, and like that clenching and the anxiety and giving the anxiety more fuel, that we flipped it. We started building a safe space. We started building, a little Adri cave, and it had that nostalgic kick of like calling it a blanket fort and being mature to be immature in that moment and explore that in a playful way. And then she made me sit in it for like 2 minutes. And I'm like, am I just supposed to sit here? And she's like, and she was forcing myself in that meditative state of just like, I am in my little blanket fort. Like she even like made me like full out make this blanket fort with a blanket and everything.
Right.
And she's like, don't come out. Let's just talk about how you're feeling in there. And I'm like, I feel really cozy. And she's like, is that a word that you've said recently? And I'm like, nope. And she's like, what else is going on in there? And I'm like, I feel silly. And she's like, in a bad way? And I'm like, no, in a good way. Like playful and safe and cozy. And then also like in that blanket fort, all I can do is hear myself breathe, which is a base point for a lot of meditation, is to come back to the breath.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was bringing me back to mindfulness, but in a playful way, because I know a lot of people can find going into meditation and hitting the mat or sitting, that it's really hard to get there. And so I really appreciated my therapist helping me get there in a way that was accessible to me, and that I encourage other people to find therein. Please try the blanket fort, but like there are other ways to be mindful and to do active meditation, like coloring, doing a puzzle, and dare I say, playing Rock Band and or
Oh.
most video games. Because if you're not present in the video game and you're thinking about everything else, you fail out. Like when I'm playing Rock Band, if I'm not doing yellow, yellow, orange, blue, blue, and all that stuff, then my concert, you know, goes to shite, and I can't move on to the next level. So it's an active meditation. And those types of things, I think we might not realize we need to reach for more these days.
Yeah.
And we also might feel silly reaching for those types of things these days, because we're also at home on top of each other with our partners and our family and our kids. And it might be hard to carve out a couple minutes, but that blanket fort was a 10-minute exercise of building it, sitting in it, unpacking it afterwards. And I really hope that whoever's watching this can maybe then just be reminded that 5 to 10 minutes of whatever mindfulness looks to you. And I know that magazines and, you know, all of these yogis are like, this is what mindfulness looks like. No, no, no. What does it look like to you? Because for me, it was a blanket fort and my stuffies.
I love it. I love it. Blanket forts for all.
Yeah.
Blanket forts and stuffies for all. Well, Adrianna, thank you so much for making this a really lovely experience for me, because, you know, frankly, it's all about me. So as long as I'm having a good time. So I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, yay. That was episode 1, everybody. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I hope you will forgive my technical faux pas in the very beginning, because this is all new for me. This is a brand new project and I'm super excited about it. And I hope that you will tune into future episodes where we get to just chat and be okay with ourselves and where we are with our mental health. So until next time, bye.